The present moment is the only place where life exists, and it is the only place where you can be alive. Eckhart Tolle. There is only ever this. Show me something outside of this. You can't, because there is only ever this. Jim Newman. What's wrong with right now, unless you think about it? Sailor Bob Adamson. Eckhart Tolle is a spiritual teacher and writer who is known for his teachings on mindfulness and the power of present moment awareness. Tolle emphasizes the importance of living in the present moment and of letting go of negative thoughts and feelings from the past or worrying about the future. According to Tolle, this can lead to sense of inner peace and contentment. His teachings often involve a focus on the present moment and the idea that all human suffering is ultimately due to a lack of connection to the present moment. In 1997, Eckhart Tolle published his first book, The Power of Now. Since that time, it has gone on to become a global bestseller with millions of copies sold worldwide. The book has been translated into over 50 languages and has received widespread critical acclaim. The Power of Now established Eckhart Tolle as one of the most well-known spiritual teachers of our time. The Power of Now communicates one very simple yet powerful message. Relax thoughts about the past and the future and rest in the present moment. One of the key reasons for the book's success is its ability to speak to people from all walks of life. The concepts it presents, such as mindfulness and the power of present moment awareness, are universal and can be applied to anyone's life, regardless of their background or circumstances. Also, the book is written in a clear, straightforward style that is easy to understand, making it accessible to a wide audience. The book's message has resonated deeply with many readers. Many people have reported experiencing incredible improvements, not only in their mental well-being as a result of reading The Power of Now, but also have enjoyed significant improvements in their overall quality of life. But who is Eckhart Tolle, and how did he come to this profound insight into the nature of human well-being? And is there something beyond the power of now? Eckhart Tolle was born in Germany in 1948. According to Tolle, he had a difficult upbringing and struggled with depression and a sense of disconnection from the world for much of his early life. At 13 years old, he moved to Spain to live with his father. Tolle's father did not force him to go to school, so Tolle stayed home and began to study literature, astronomy, and languages. At 15 years old, Tolle was given a set of 5 books written by the German artist and mystic Joseph Anton Schneiderfrancken. Schneiderfrancken was later known by his spiritual name Bo Yin Ra. His teaching focused on the power of the individual to shape their own destiny. Bo Yin Ra's ideas were very influential in the development of the New Thought movement, similar to the law of attraction, which emphasizes the power of positive thinking and the ability of individuals to create their own reality through the power of their thoughts and beliefs. Tolle said that the reading of these 5 books by Schneiderfrancken or Bo Yin Ra had a profound effect on him and initiated his spiritual search. At 19 years old, Tolle moved to London, where he enrolled at London University in History and Languages. He graduated with firsts in both subjects. However, Tolle said of this time, "I did well because I was motivated by fear of not being good enough, so I worked very hard." Tolle went on to enroll in a postgraduate program at Cambridge University, intending to complete a doctorate in Latin American literature. He completed it in less than a year and dropped out, feeling that it was all meaningless. By the time he was 29 years old, Tolle was suffering from recurrent bouts of severe depression. It was during one of these bouts of depression that Tolle suddenly noticed the underlying structure of the thoughts that fueled his depression. That structure was this: I said to myself. In other words, Tolle noticed that his depressive thoughts were always about one part of himself commenting on another part of himself, as if he were two people. For example, any criticism that he had of himself, or fears or worries for the future, always took the same form of I said to myself. Why do you always say such stupid things? You will have a very bad future the way you are going. Nothing ever works out for you, does it? Tolle deeply inquired into the nature of this structure of thought and asked some very important questions. Are the I that is seemingly talking and the myself that is seemingly listening really two entities? If I is the one saying it to myself, then why does the I need to be saying it in the first place? What is wrong with now, unless I think about it? Is anything that I fear or worry about happening right now? What would happen? What would my experience be if I just dropped the I said to myself thought structure? What is my experience right now without the constant I said to myself chatter? What is my experience of now prior to this internal chatter? As we have seen, this phrase, I said to myself, refers to the internal dialogue that occurs within our minds. This phrase describes the thoughts and self-talk that we have with ourselves on a constant basis. Many of the world's spiritual and mystic traditions teach that it is this internal dialogue that is the primary illusion that creates the sense of separation not only between an individual and their true nature, but also from this present moment and all other beings. Eckhart Tolle discusses very powerfully the concept of the I said to myself illusion in The Power of Now. Tolle argues that by becoming more aware of this internal dialogue and learning to quiet the mind, individuals can overcome this illusion and experience a greater sense of connection to the present moment and to their true selves. By becoming more mindful and aware of this internal dialogue, this I said to myself dialogue, we can release it and settle into the present moment. This is the very heart of Eckhart Tolle's teaching, to release this internal dialogue and rest freely in the present moment. This understanding of this internal dialogue of I said to myself as our primary form of suffering is reflected in many spiritual and mystical traditions throughout the world. It is also seen in many Western psychological therapeutic disciplines. However, in the Western therapeutic setting, the internal dialogue of I said to myself is not necessarily seen as something to be overcome, let go of, or released, but rather as something that can be improved upon. For example, a therapist may suggest that we learn to be kinder to ourselves, or to love ourselves, or as in cognitive therapy, to challenge the truth of any negative dialogue and replace it with a more positive dialogue. This is a very different approach to either the power of now or many of the world's religions and mystical traditions and practices. In these traditions, and in Eckhart Tolle's teaching, it is suggested that we 1. Become aware of this I said to myself internal dialogue. 2. Realize its illusory nature. Who is saying to who? 3. Deeply intuit what is prior to the arising of this dialogue. Many spiritual traditions also emphasize the importance of living in the present moment and cultivating a sense of inner peace and contentment. This communication can be found in various Eastern spiritual practices such as Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity. Taoism teaches that we should live in harmony with the natural flow of the universe, or the Tao. This involves letting go of the ego, or the internal I said to myself dialogue, and realizing a state of Wu Wei, or effortless action. Tolle's teachings on the ego and the importance of being present in the present moment are similar to Taoist teachings on living in alignment with the Tao. Buddhism teaches the importance of ending suffering by cultivating mindfulness and understanding the impermanent nature of all things. Tolle's teachings on mindfulness in the present moment are closely aligned with Buddhist teachings on the importance of being present in the present moment. Hinduism teaches the importance of attaining liberation from the cycle of reincarnation and achieving a state of unity with the divine. Tolle's teachings on the ego and the importance of living in the present moment are similar to Hindu teachings on the importance of transcending the ego and living in a state of mindfulness and awareness. Christianity is a monotheistic religion that emphasizes the importance of following the teachings of Jesus Christ and living a life guided by love and compassion. Tolle's teachings on love and compassion are similar to Christian teachings on the importance of loving one's neighbor and living a life guided by the teachings of Jesus. The profound effectiveness of Eckhart Tolle's teachings can also be explained by the most recent findings in neuroscience. As we have seen, Eckhart Tolle explores the relationship between the human mind and the present moment, and how the internal dialogue of "I said to myself" creates virtual worlds of past and future, preventing us from fully experiencing the present moment. Tolle's teachings on the power of the present moment are philosophical and spiritual in nature. However, science now has come to some very similar conclusions. Recent research in neuroscience has shed light on the ways in which the brain and the mind interact with the present moment, and how mindfulness practices can have a positive impact on our mental and physical well-being. Neuroscience now supports the idea that mindfulness practices, such as letting go of the internal "I said to myself" dialogue, can have a profoundly positive impact on the brain and the mind. For example, studies have shown that mindfulness practices can increase activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for attention and decision-making, and reduce activity in the amygdala, which is responsible for the stress response. These changes in brain activity have been linked to improved emotional regulation and a reduction in stress and anxiety. Letting go of the internal dialogue, and thus becoming more present, has been shown to increase the production of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, which are involved in feelings of well-being and happiness. Neuroscience also points to the two brain networks involved in cognitive processing. Understanding these two brain networks helps to reveal what is happening in the brain when we are blind to the present moment because we are captured by the internal dialogue of "I said to myself." These two networks are the default mode network, DMN, and the task positive network, TPN. The default mode network is that part of the brain that is active when we are not involved in a task. The default mode network is active when we are involved in thinking about the past or future, or involved in self-reflection, i.e. thinking about ourselves. The default mode network is especially active when we are involved in the internal "I said to myself" dialogue. The task positive network is that part of the brain that is active when we are involved in a task. The task positive network is that part of the brain that is active when we are present to what is happening in the moment. If both brain networks are working well together, when one network is active, the other will go quiet. For example, if you're working on a very difficult maths problem, or even deeply involved in a video game, the default mode network of self-reflection will go quiet and the task positive network will take over. This is what we experience when we lose ourselves in a game, activity, music, sport, or other similar activity. However, for some people, especially those suffering from ADHD or similar neurological problems, the default mode network never quietens down. This can be true for many people even if they are not ADHD. For example, you try and concentrate on a task, and your mind keeps taking you away from it with internal dialogue, i.e. default mode network. What Eckhart Tolle and other spiritual traditions are suggesting, from the neurological point of view, is to begin to become aware of the constant internal dialogue of the default mode network and to consciously relax that network and therefore allow the task positive network to become active. In other words, by relaxing the "I said to myself" dialogue, you will become more present to the contents and tasks of the moment, and thus in most cases much more effective in your life. Interestingly, when the default mode network is completely turned off, as in sleep or unconsciousness, the task positive network will often continue its work on completing a task or coming up with a solution to a problem. This is why many a scientist or a writer will report that it was when they stopped trying to come up with a solution to the formula or plot point and had a shower or had a nap that the solution suddenly popped into their heads. This neurological understanding of how relaxing the default mode network, internal dialogue, of "I said to myself" and allowing the offline completing power of the task positive network may also explain the strong suggestion of many spiritual traditions in times of extreme crisis to let go and let God, or to simply surrender. It may also explain why organizations such as Alcoholics Anonymous have had such success in overcoming addictive patterns by suggesting to their members that they surrender to their higher power. Eckhart Tolle's suggestion is to direct attention away from thought and to what is active or present in the moment. This is also a definition of surrender. One of his primary suggestions is to direct attention away from thought to either the internal energetic feeling of the body or to any external object appearing to awareness. This can be very helpful in quieting the internal dialogue of "I said to myself," and thus returning us to the pure and easy simplicity and as seen accomplishing power of the present moment. However, as we more and more relax our internal dialogue and rest in the present moment, we soon experience a profound deepening. We go beyond Eckhart Tolle's now. Eckhart Tolle makes a very simple but profound statement. The past is not happening now. The future is not happening now. Both are only happening in imagination. Both can only happen in imagination. The past and future are merely imagined. They are not present. Therefore, they are not real. They are not reality. Where is now located? What is real? Where is reality located? It is fairly easy for us to see that thoughts about the past and thoughts about the future are not what is happening now. They are merely imagination. What is harder for us to see is that the contents of this present moment are, in fact, past thoughts. The present moment, in fact, does not exist. There is no such thing as now. Try this thought experiment. Think about yesterday. Think about tomorrow. Think about 5 minutes ago. Think about 5 minutes into the future. Think about 1 second ago. Think about 1 second into the future. 1 second in the past and 1 second into the future are both products of imagination. They are not reality. Think about 1 millisecond ago. Think about 1 millisecond into the future. Both are still imagination. Both are not real. So, where is reality? Contemplate the exact moment where the past becomes the future. Can it be found in the contents of the moment? Whether those contents are internal or external, are the objects of awareness existing in the present? How could they be? What about the time it takes for the light to travel from the eye to the brain? You are looking at the past. Look around you. You are looking at the past. As certainly as looking at the light of a distant star. You are always experiencing the past. It is not possible to experience the present. Where then is reality located? Reality is the nothingness from which both past and future imaginings, or the mind's creation of worlds, arise. The present moment is nothingness, neither past nor future. Nothingness is pure potentiality. As Meister Eckhart, the great 13th century German mystic from whom Eckhart Tolle took his name, said, "Nothingness is the Godhead." The power of now comes from the present moment's pure potentiality as nothingness.
सर्वेषां स्वास्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु